Hello, this is Wayne Mowat, in touch with New Zealand. This week I'm heading to scenic Southland with its rolling farmland and friendly, warm-hearted folk. Now I know that a lot of New Zealanders, and even Southlanders themselves, have never been to Stewart Island. But I'm off. I'm going to Rakiura National Park to see the glowing skies, the abundance of native birds, the tranquil and wild places, and meet the islanders themselves, descendants of the original
Hi, good. What have you been doing? Oh, you spilled my drink.
Don't worry about that. Have a look at this. Most beautiful place, Stewart Island.
Awesome.
Should we go there? Yeah, like Kiwis.
Hi. I was wondering if we could get some information about accommodation on the island.
It covers the whole range, starting from the top end of the market and working through different bed and breakfasts, hotel, motels, self-catering houses.
Softly swaying in the breeze, crystal drops and silver sails. The air is fresh and clean. Freedom and peace walk hand in hand. These are the images I can see. Friendly voices welcoming, softly speaking love to me.
Hi there, how are you? Okay. Tried the Stewart Island water before?
No.
It's really good.
Hi. We were just taking a look at the day walks. There's one to Eccles Point. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about that.
The one you've chosen is out this way. There's Acker's Point there, and you're at the information centre just here. Take you about an hour and a half to walk each way.
Straight cut. Started off on the kitchen table with just Dylan and Kathy running the business. Now they have 5 full-time staff. Sell around 30,000 t-shirts a year.
Like that, blue. Yeah. So beautiful. You know what we should do? Go for a swim. Come on, let's go.
In Maori mythology, Stewart Island is known as Te Punga o Te Waka a Maui, translated as the anchor stone of Maui's canoe. It refers to the island's role as an anchor for Maui's canoe when he caught the great fish, the North Island. Local Maori bestowed upon their island home the most beautiful of names, Rakiura, Island of the Glowing Skies. This chain and anchor depicts the legend of Maui and is the gateway to Rakiura National Park. But Stewart Island anchors more than Maui's canoe, as was aptly expressed by eminent botanist Leonard Cockayne in 1909. The face of the earth is changing so rapidly that soon there will be little of the primitive nature left. In the old world, it is practically gone forever. Here, then, is Stewart Island's prime advantage, and one that's hard to overestimate. It is an actual piece of the primeval world. Leonard Cockayne's quotation is still relevant today, for Stewart Island is by far the least modified of the three main islands of New Zealand. Roughly triangular, it's an island of incredibly diverse landscapes encompassing some 1,600 square kilometres. The first visitors were Maori over 1,000 years ago, sailing their double-hulled waka to harvest the titi or mutton birds that migrate in their thousands to nest on Rakiura's offshore islands. The annual hikoi to these islands remains a vital part of local Maori's heritage. Whilst the great waka have sailed into history, new technology has ensured a less hazardous journey.
Purawara, they had to, it used to take them a week to get the stuff ashore. If the weather was right, get it ashore, okay, because it's all cliffy there, you know what I mean, and big swells, and then put it into a storage den, and then have to have 3 landings to get it up 400 feet to the top. Well, with the helicopter, you could do all the families up there for 2 hours, you know, get the whole list done. And it's all done, they're fresh. They don't even have to climb up the hill, they go up in the net, you know, just like a lift. One time I was flying there and this was I remember I looked out because you know how you get a sense that somebody's in the net? Sometimes you do. And I looked out and here's this wee fella, he come halfway up the rope. I'm not joking. He was halfway up the rope, just with the hand up and hanging on there. And then when we were coming to land, he put his hand out like that, so everybody would see him like he's just a wee character. But those boats, there's tons and tons of stuff goes down there, and some of the islands are very rough and they can't get the dinghies ashore, so we made a sort of, they made a habit of sort of climbing the net, and sometimes you didn't know they were there or not there, because if it was rough weather you'd be watching the mast, the boat wouldn't, your rope wouldn't hit anything else, but once the hook on, then I make sure that I'm clear of the boat and not other bits and pieces hanging onto it, because otherwise you can end up with a net and then another load and another load, you know, you don't know what's going on. And anyway, this particular day I got airborne And how it was bloody heavy, and I was watching what I was doing, but one thing I haven't done is dump, and I went through the odd swell with this net load, and I thought, shit, this is too heavy. But anyway, I was away from the boat, so I carried on and went right round the corner of Puawata Island to get some air so I could get up. And blowing about 30 knots, and I got up to the top of the island, which was about 400 feet above sea level, and went to let it down on their pad. And I couldn't believe it. There's 11 people climbed out of the net. Whew.
In the early 1800s, the sealers arrived, and the island's name was derived from William Stewart, first mate of the sealing ship Pegasus. Whilst the first European settlement was on Codfish Island off the western coast, the next significant settlement was here in Patterson Inlet. Philip Smith is a direct descendant of those pioneers who settled here on Bravo Island. When did they come here, Philip?
Well, it was about 1860 that Yankee Smith settled here. His wife was a half-caste Maori she actually came from Codfish Island. Her mother was originally sent down from the Kaiapoi area when Aotearoa was looting and raiding up that way. As the children were growing up, naturally schooling wasn't compulsory anyway in those days, in that era, before 1900. And the only school in the area was at the Neck. It's about a couple of nautical miles from here down to the Neck. But the Smith and the Gooms kids, the elder ones would look after the younger ones, and they would actually row from here down to the Neck and do their day's schooling and come home again. But there was, prevailing weather from the west here, and it's very changeable. Occasionally they'd get caught out and the weather would change. I mean, there was no room in the school master's house or school for them to live, so they used to turn the whaleboat upside down on the beach down below and just camp under that for the night.
Might be frowned upon today, Philip.
Oh, yeah. Probably put you in jail for doing that today. Yeah.
So, Philip, would your forebears have planted these trees here?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yes, well, specifically the Nio, it was mainly for its medicinal properties. It was highly prized, especially where people live, where there's nothing in the way of medical professions or anything like that. It's quite a ingenious old tree. This one, it's been here for a long time.
So, this is the Nio tree. Not too many of these on Stewart Island.
There's not. No. Well, as far as I know, this is the only one on the island that I know of. There used to be one down at Port Adventure, but it's since died. For bruises and cuts and sprains, you could take the juice of the leaf and put them on, and it would just heal up in days, no problem. Also, for internal problems, you could boil the leaves and drink the juice, and that would fix any internal problem. They say it was good for ulcers and stuff. How they knew they had them, I don't know, but.
What do they survive on? What do they do?
Well, Yankee was a boat builder, and also Manuel Goumes too was a boat builder. So between the two of them, they set up their own business, building boats and stuff like that. The only way you could get around here in those days was by boat. And of course, it's a bit like a car dealer today. You got a good business. Well, they had a pretty good business, and they built some really nice boats too. Yankee built the first cutter to run the mail between Ulva Island and the mainland, and he used to row from this island to the Snuggery, which is a little bay on this side of Ulva, walk across, do his day's work, and come back and row home at night.
I'm on my way to Ulva Island. For the pioneers living on the island in the 1870s, a trip to Ulva Island must have been a momentous occasion. For it was here that Charles and Jessie Trail opened Stewart Island's first post office in 1872. This site was chosen because of its central location to the settlements of Half Moon Bay, the Neck, and the sawmills of the inlet. On Mail Day, the innovative Charles Trail hoisted a flag on Flagstaff Point to announce the arrival of the mail. Today, Ulva Island is the jewel in Rakiura's crown. It's one of the few island sanctuaries in New Zealand open to visitors. Predator-free, it's a haven for native flora and fauna, giving visitors the opportunity of exploring an island paradise.
Ulva Island is a very special place for the department and for how we've managed conservation. We looked at taking the rats off there in the early 1990s and have got rid of every rat off the island. Ulva, although it's the jewel in the crown, it's also an experiment where we're looking to see how we can have people visit a valuable sanctuary like that and keep it rat-free at the same time. Like a lot of things, it's a balancing act. And Ulva Island is in some ways a small version of Rakiura itself. So yeah, a very, very special place and a very valuable gem that we've got.
Is sort of where the boat would slide out. Oh look, we've got some muttonbird scrub here. Now this is also called bushman's paper because this is what they used at the post office to write home for the bushmen when they were here. So they put their name and address there and hello mum, send me money. Yep.
And they'd put that through the post office. It's also called bushman's paper because it's soft and absorbent, you see, and it was used
I
in
can
the
use
bush.
what it's used for.
Exactly.
Multi-purpose.
Multi-purpose, totally. 4-ply.
Very good.
Yes.
Could it be possible that it's this large tree up here?
Very good.
Is it?
This is quite a lovely place.
Wow.
Patterson Inlet penetrates into half the width of the island and because of its physical attributes has always been central to island's industries. In 1924, Norwegian whalers came to Patterson Inlet, and by 1927 they had established a huge workshop and slipway here in Price's Inlet to service their Antarctic whaling fleet. Strangely enough, it was not commercial enterprise, but social and communal interests that brought the first whalemen to the island in the 1820s. Many islanders are descendants of those seafaring pioneers, so it's little wonder that until recent times, fishing was the main industry on the island. Colin Hopkins, long-time fisherman.
Sweet.
How do you do? Well, how's the fishing season so far?
Oh, it's been pretty good, yeah. We've just finished. It's the shortest season we've ever had.
But as a lot of people know now, I guess, on Stewart Island, you blokes are becoming a bit like the moa, aren't you?
Yeah, we are actually. Getting a bit old and long in the tooth. There's not many of us left.
Why is that? What are the reasons that fishing has declined on the island?
The fishing hasn't declined, it's the fishermen that have declined. It's all really down to the quota system. Something probably had to be done to control the fishery. We're reduced right back to about 35% of the average catch, and of course the equal number of fishermen disappeared as well.
So it's been a change of lifestyle for you too, hasn't it, Colin?
Oh yes, quota's certainly changed fishing. We used to fish through till the fish stopped going into the pots, which was end of February or early March. But then, with the advent of quotas, everyone wanted to be finished by Christmas, and after a few years, the season seemed to get better, so everyone was finished by Labour weekend, and it just got shorter and shorter.
What are the stocks like now? What are the fish? What's the quality of the fish?
Really good.
Yeah.
It's very hard for young people to get into fishing. That's one of the biggest problems nowadays. It's just too expensive for young people, to
get a boat and
buy
get
quota,
yeah.
lease quota.
Yeah.
The lease, you tend to pay all the profit away with lease, so it's pretty disheartening for a lot of the young people on the island not being able to go and do their own thing fishing.
Yeah. So now you do a lot of charter work, do you?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. What does that involve?
I pick out the charters I want and put the rest on my other boat.
Great. I mean, it's just amazing how you can just drop the line and 5 seconds later you put in the fish. Well, I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, pleasure. Without people like you, we go broke. After that strenuous exercise, ladies and gentlemen, I suppose you want a cup of tea, cup of coffee? One of the things about when you come to Stewart Island is if you want to do something and you don't think the weather's suitable, for goodness sake, get out and do it, because the weather tomorrow mightn't be any better. And if the boat's going fishing, or the boat's going to Pegasus, or you're going to Over Island, then get out today and enjoy it, because you will enjoy it. People won't take you if the weather isn't suitable for what they're doing.
Today, marine farms in Big Glory Bay offer employment to many islanders and are an added attraction for tourists.
To actually go over and have a look and see what's going on?
Yeah, well, since I'm one of the bosses, you can. Yeah, we'll take you over and have a look.
Excellent.
Ron Dennis is involved in one of the more unusual aspects that's derived from the sea. Ron, how did this get started?
Initially we started growing pawas or abalone for meat production, and decided we'd go ahead and try and produce some pearls from them.
Yeah, so how's it done? I mean, what are the people asking? What are pawa pearls? They're unique, obviously.
Yes, well they are unique, and there's over 100 species of abalone in the world, and we're just fortunate that we've got one that can produce gem factor pearls. It's the technique took us about best part of 10 years to figure out.
Can you tell us a bit about the colours?
Well, all pearls, all animals that produce pearls, the oysters and mussels and that produce pearls can only produce the colour that they are. So the black pearls come from black oysters and the white ones obviously from white. So the pearls we produce, of course, are every colour of the rainbow.
Some fishermen have opted for a change in lifestyle by becoming involved in the island's tourism, offering charter or fishing trips to the increasing number of tourists. And tell us a bit about the kiwi spotting, which is you're involved in now, Philip, very much so. You have people from all over the world, I guess, looking for the elusive kiwi.
We do, that's right. Well, when I first started touristing full time, that was about 1989, and you know, people were often asking, you know, residents around the place about looking for kiwis. So I started taking them to Little Glory, you know, across there. And it sort of snowballed from there. But
so they're surviving?
Oh, definitely, yeah. The reason they survive here is we haven't got the predators. But the survival rate here is good and the population's good. I think the figures of Doc for the population is, you know, a guesstimate, if you like, is about 10,000 kiwi on the island. 640 square miles, so that's a good population.
What about a Stewart Islander of the Homo sapien variety? Are they an endangered species?
I guess the true Stewart Islanders are, yeah. If you look at the ones, you know, 4 or 5 generations, there's not many families in the village now that are of those, you know, those descendants.
Stewart Island is a walker's paradise, with numerous walks within close proximity of Half Moon Bay.
Stewart Island, one of the best times to actually see it is in the rain. And the reason why is because we've got some fabulous examples of New Zealand ferns, and this is one of them. This is a tree fern, and tree ferns first evolved 350 million years ago.
Golfing fanatics can enjoy one of the southernmost courses in the world. And for those wanting to get out of the rough and into the bush, there's some great tramping, including the Rakiura track and the Northwest Circuit. Well, Ron, there's a lot of history on the island, but there's particular history about the Northwest Circuit.
Yeah, the Northwest is really connected with every settlement, really. All the early settlements were in the Northwest. Right, we're at Maury Beach sawmill now. This is the remains of the enormous boiler that drove the machine right through until from 1913 to 1931. Logged in that time about 800 hectares.
At this idyllic bay in 1873, a group of Shetland Islanders attempted to carve a life from the surrounding forest. With the failure of their fishing enterprise, the Shetlanders had moved on to better prospects by 1874.
The Shetlanders always dug what they called a noose, a shelter for the boat, into the bank, and then it would be thatched over. And in here you can see the remains of the noose where the boat was pulled up. Remember, they had one boat between all the families. The noose was actually a Shetland form of boat shed. We dug into the bank, formed it with stone, and then thatched it over. Well, this is the noose. I'm standing in the middle of it. Along this side, formed wall. Along the back, stone wall. Along the other side, stone wall. But on this side, on my right-hand side, there's also another intriguing bit. It's one of the big riveted water tanks. Well, often when you're looking around these sites, the remains that are left from the old habitations are really plants rather than things, because plants seem to persist quite well. And look, here's some of them here. There's one down here. Let's see if we get one more open. It's easier to see. Oh, here we are. Here we are. There's some of the old strawberry beds.
In contrast to the sheltered beaches and bays of the eastern shore, the western coast has been moulded by the restless Southern Ocean. Nowhere is this more profoundly illustrated than on the northwest coast, where the ruggedy range and islands are impressive witnesses to this endless conflict between land and sea.
In front of us is the Ruggedy Islands. The Ruggedy Islands is famous in the history of the island because this is where the famous whaler Paddy Gilroy took on the American whale ships and lost them. A big gale came up. And the Americans had to eventually have to let go of the whales because they couldn't keep themselves safe. But Paddy came in through this passage out to my right here, sailed in here into the shelter and held on to his whale.
The track skirts this rugged coastline to arrive at the vast expanse of Mason Bay.
Oh, Hellfire was beautiful. It goes East Ruggedy, Hellfire, and then Mason Bay, yeah. And I thought that was the best stretch of it. And Smoky Beach was beautiful too. We ran into a lot of mud. We had to wait a while first, but I'd do it again.
Mason Bay is one of our truly wild places. A landscape sculptured by the westerly gales from the vast Southern Ocean. At the bay's southern end there is evidence of the power of the wind, for this sandy peninsula leading to Goat Island was once a gulch of deep water. Those westerly gales have also moulded the lives of the bay's few early inhabitants. Here at the gutter, there's evidence that early Maori hauled their waka ashore to escape the fury of a westerly gale. The only attempt at farming was here at Mason Bay, and those hardy pioneers battled isolation as well as the tides and the weather of these western shores. There were two main sheep runs, one here at Kilbride, the other at Island Hill between Mason Bay and the Freshwater River. Tim Te Aika bought the Island Hill run from Stanford Leask in 1965, was it, Tim?
66.
66?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts coming back here today, Tim? Looking out into some sunshine and a bit of rain at the same time.
Well, the rain and the sunshine and swapping those things around is probably, I feel very much at home with that, because this is Stewart Island. And coming back to the wool shed, I don't really have too many nostalgic feelings about it. It was always a place of torture for me.
Tell me about the first bales of wool going out on your sort of your own clinker.
It started in the wool shed here. Our first wool press was 4 pieces of number 8 wire from the roof, and attached to each wire was the corner of a wool pack. And the resulting bale was anything but a bale. It was rounded on all 6 sides. It was about 2 feet longer than the normal bales, and there were buggers to pack. Being rounded, they had to be well tied down onto the trailer.
Yes.
First job we had to do was to repair the road, and having repaired it, we never used it unless the weather was fine, because it would just wreck the whole thing again. We were all at it, the girls, they were just little girls when we first came here. They would help, Nairi would help, we'd all be down there. And sometimes you'd see a startled group of trampers coming through. There'd be a little blonde kid wheeling a wheelbarrow and another one dragging bits of manuka out to fill in the potholes. So it was all, you know, stuff that we had to do, and the kids grew up with that view that if you had to do a job, you had to do it. There's no way around it.
And what a place to grow up.
Yes, we were criticised when we first brought the girls over here because of the isolation, and in hindsight though, I think they probably had a better understanding of the country we live in than kids who are brought up in town and know nothing else than the supermarket and the pavements, motor cars.
Here you are, going home, Tim.
Yeah.
So Tim, how did you get on for schooling when the family was growing up here?
They did their schooling through correspondence. Nairi was very meticulous. She insisted that they had to attend to their work as though they were going to school on the mainland. They would catch the bus there and go to Tisbury. Their clothing then here was as it was then. They had to be dressed in school clothes, shoes polished, they were inspected, fingernails cleaned, hair brushed, ribbons, all that. And they sat in their places to do their assignments.
And what was it like having Mason Bay on your back doorstep, one of the wildest, most pristine beaches probably in the country?
Probably that was one of our most attractive features here. Kids loved going down beachcombing, and we would try and keep Sunday a day where we all planned to do something together, whether it was to go on a barbecue or go for a beach walk or go for a bush walk.
Collecting ambergris, perhaps, off the beach?
No, only on one occasion did we make a concerted effort to look for ambergris. We had a sperm whale, bull sperm whale wash up on the beach just where we landed this morning. George was here. George left. He was full of the idea that the whale might have come ashore because it had problems with ambergris, getting rid of it. So we sharpened a saw, we sharpened an axe, we sharpened a slasher, and went down. He says, "Oh, we better cut it open and have a look at it." Well, you imagine trying to cut open a something about 3 times the size of an elephant, and and looked through the guts, and it was we couldn't even make a dent in the skin that we could have done anything with, let alone get into the guts and start sifting through it. So anyhow, we gave that idea away, and eventually with the tide and the birds, scavengers, the thing eventually disintegrated. Well, that one Sunday we were at a pretty low ebb financially. We always were here, but on this particular occasion we were right at the bottom of the barrel. And I think it might have been Naira. He says, "Do you think we ought to go and have a look along the beach? We might pick up a bit of ambergris now that the guts had disintegrated." So we went along and we spread out, just quietly walked along the beach, and we picked up about 10 pounds of it. So Uncle George wasn't very far off in his estimate that there would be ambergris there, but it certainly didn't cause the death of the whale. We didn't sell it though, for some reason or other. We decided, I don't think the prices were very good then. Yeah. Oh no, we had a change of fortune, that's right. Somebody came in and asked me if I'd like to shoot deer for him. So at that particular time, the place was crawling with them. So we put the ambergris away, and I got into the venison recovery.
What does it look like, and what does it smell like?
It's a smell that would possibly attract some people. It attracted me. I love the smell of it.
It's kind of musky, is it?
It is a very musky smell, yes. When they built this wool shed, George and Stanford, all the holes in the old iron there, I see most of them are all empty again. But they melted ambergris into the holes. And when you're shearing on a hot day, the smell of the ambergris, it overcome the smell of the sheep, which I was quite pleased about.
Now, Tim, isn't this the place where old Adam Adamson had his hut?
Yes.
And legend has it that he was the ambergris king, and before he went off to the war, he buried his ambergris about here somewhere, and it's never been found. Do you think we should go and have a look? We might find it.
I think we've had a better chance of finding ambergris if we went to the beach. We never ever picked up a great deal just walking along the beach looking for it. Wayne, come and have a look at this.
What have we got here, Tim?
This is what we were talking about.
Is that ambergris?
Smell it.
Unusual smell, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And that, when you multiply it by 7, you got the value of that little nugget. $7 a gram. So however many grams there are in there, you multiply that by 7.
Thanks very much, Tim. I'm off now. See you later. And when you left the land, or when you left Mason Bay and the farm, did you have withdrawal symptoms?
Bad ones. The worst feelings I had about it was the fact that over 100 years of history that had gone before me, that I was virtually closing down, and I didn't feel very good about that.
For those visitors not wanting to brave the mud and arduous tramping of the Northwest Circuit, a beach landing by aircraft is a great way to experience the raw splendour of Mason Bay.
Okay, welcome to Mason Bay. Hope you enjoyed the flight. Nice day for it.
Yeah.
Okay. You just need to walk along the beach, just to the north here, about 10 minutes, and start at the track through to freshwater, okay, just on your right-hand side. There's a big stick in the ground, and then there's some flotation buoys on that stick.
G'day, how's it going? Good. I saw the plane land. Have you guys just come in?
Yeah, we're on our way down to Freshwater River.
Oh, okay. Hoping to see some kiwi?
Hopefully.
That's good. It's a good chance that you will see kiwi along here, even possibly in the daylight. Make sure that you stay a fair distance, about 5 metres away from the birds, and don't use flash photography, okay? They get quite disturbed. enjoy your walk. Yeah, just follow the markers through to the hut.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, see ya.
See you later.
Hey, how are you? Did you have a good trip?
Good, yes. It's been really
Okay.
good.
Well, welcome aboard. We'll be down in Golden Bay in about 35 minutes.
Cool.
To appreciate the diversity of this island, it's necessary to journey south along Eastern Shore, past the sheltered harbours of Port Adventure and Lord's River, to arrive in the southernmost harbour of Port Pegasus.
There's no end of business.
How fast are you going up there?
The top one has been through the water. The one on that screen.
Port Pegasus is another world. Its spectacular backdrop of the Fraser Peaks, highlighted by the granite domes of Gog and Magog, give the area a surreal atmosphere. This southern extremity of Stewart Island is an untracked wilderness, often at the mercy of severe gales born in this southern ocean. So remote and inhospitable is the terrain that a colony of kakapo remained undiscovered until 1977, when they were captured and relocated to the Codfish Island. The discovery of this remnant population saved this magnificent flightless parrot from extinction. Pegasus has a colourful history from early Maori to the arrival of sealers in the early 1800s. From shipbuilders to buried bottles, every bay and inlet has a story of a once colourful past that's now hidden forever amongst the forest. In 1888, the discovery of tin brought a rush of prospectors to stake claims along the Tin Range. Although it attracted miners and the construction of a hotel and post office, the general character of the country negated any large employment of miners. In 1897, a fish station and freezer was established, and this continued up to the 1940s. Perhaps the most lasting legacy of the tin rush is the naming of the Belltopper Falls. William Todd, Invercargill businessman and entrepreneur, on landing at these beautiful falls, had his silk hat entangled in the branches of a tree, and the falls were immediately named the Belltopper Falls. Apart from a sheltering fishing vessel or a tourist boat, Pegasus remains a remote, sheltered harbour, a wild and special place, unspoiled in an ever-shrinking world.
Amazing, isn't it?
Well, let's go over to that beach. There's some hookers over on the beach there. We'll go over and take an aid of them. One of the peculiarities of this place are little piles of stones scattered about. Most quite small, some of them half the size of my fist. And with these ones, which come from the Auckland Islands, we know where they've come from. Funnily enough, the sea lions eat these stones. For what reason, we're not quite sure.
White-tailed deer were released in Port Pegasus in 1905, and whilst they're a controversial subject, over 3,000 hunters travel to the island annually to hunt these elusive deer.
It's a very tricky one, the deer. I quite like seeing deer around. We see them off the boat quite often, and just your average Kiwi bloke. I mean, that's part of life in New Zealand. And coming to Stewart Island, a lot of them will bring their families back here for a holiday just because they've always come to Stewart Island but not actually called into the bay. It's just one of those things. I mean, some people are very anti-deer, like my wife is.
Do you think the whitetail gets blamed for more than it actually does? I mean, a lot of people say, well, it's eating the forest, it's eating the natives.
Yeah, I do think that. Yeah, I do think that. Obviously, the possum is the worst of them. Rats have a part to play. Even carcass will strip native trees and things. People don't realise that, but there are native birds here that will actually kill trees.
Today, the island has changed from a fishing village to a tourist destination. Transport to the island's never been easier, a far cry from amphibian aircraft and slow, crowded ferries.
I think in those days there was more people came here on a daily basis, especially on excursions and stuff. I mean, they used to bring trains from Dunedin to Invercargill Bluff to catch the ferry to come for a day excursion to Stewart Island. I mean, there's nothing like that now.
So, Philip, what was it like growing up here in Patterson Inlet?
We couldn't wait to get out of school at the end of the day and get down the beach and drag the dinghy into the water and go out rowing and exploring and that. There's always somewhere to go in a dinghy every day, and we used to do it too. Come home with a wet bum and get told off. But, yeah, it was great fun.
A very relaxing and happy childhood that we had, despite the fact that we were in depression years. Plenty of food, mostly food that we'd grown. There was fish in the sea and our own animals and gardens, vegetable gardens, plenty of fruit.
Well, Stewart Island is just full of surprises. Who knows you're going to find a telephone halfway up a tree. Are you there, Pete? Yeah, I just thought I'd put through a trunk call and you said you'd be here in 10 seconds. G'day, Wayne. Oh, Pete.
We're here.
Oh, g'day, Pete. How are you?
Good to see
Oh, that was great service. Oh, well, I can hang up and
you.
I hop. Thank you very much. Oh, that is unbelievable service. Things you find on Stewart Island. Oh, well, that's great. Who would want to live on Stewart Island? Really, Don and Josie Goodhue do. They came from the city and have been here how long now, Don?
Since July last year, so just over a year.
Why did you come?
Well, for the lifestyle and, well, you can hear the birds in the background, but also for the history.
Yeah. Josie, what's your story?
Yeah, we like the tramping and the sea kayaking, so you can't get better than this.
It seems to me that people that come here do get immersed in the history. It's got a fascinating history, Stewart Island. Is that the case with you, Don?
It is. From the first time we came here, we fell in love with the place. There is a lot of history. You don't need to go very far into the hills to find signs of that.
I was surprised. We do have a reasonable sort of climate here, considering how far south we are.
Don't be put off by winter weather, as it's mild with little wind, and this is often the best time to explore the inlet by kayak. A lot of people I've talked to in my short visit here on the island said they came here for a few hours or just for a visit and they're still here 20 odd years later.
Yep.
Is that the case with you?
Yeah, that's the same as me. I came here for a holiday, pack and rifle, and never left. Had a mortgage, and yeah, it's pretty. In those days, I could have just about sort of swapped a house for a 24 pack. There's so many empty houses and sections and land available that just the worth wasn't there that it is these days. But yeah, obviously it's changed now.
So, if you were to describe Stewart Island in a couple of words, what would those words be?
Pure nature.
Oh, it's a great place to live. I don't think there's anywhere else.
Do you leave it much? Do you leave the island much?
Under duress.
Yeah, just the ambience of the place. I mean, everyone sort of dreams about living somewhere where the pace of life. It's probably why we've been successful with the powers. They take a long time to do much too, and we don't tend to get rushed too much.
Stewart Islanders at play,
yes,
enjoying themselves, jumping for joy. And there's lots to jump for joy about, Jan, on Stewart Island?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've lived here since I was 3, and so, I've been here 35 years, and, I still just really love everything, about it. On a whole, they learn lots of other things that kids would never do. They learn to row dinghies, scout around in the bush, see kiwis.
A lot of other kids in New Zealand don't get a chance to see kiwis.
No.
Have you got kiwis here in the garden?
Yeah, there's one that's been living down our driveway for, probably 18 months, and Lance has actually seen kiwi holes in the garden, and we've heard them at night time. They squawk, in the middle of the night, they screech and squawk and wake you up. It's amazing.
And all these carvings, living with these carvings that your husband does, it's fantastic.
What sort of whale do you think it is?
Is it could be a humpback?
No. Have another go.
The southern right whale?
Yeah, it is.
It's a beautiful carving. What's it made out of?
It's made out of an old wharf tile from Bluff. All these eyes are from a really old piano that came from Bluff. I think we got it here at the turn of the last century. Like, it's really old. When we built our new RSA, just lifting it out, and they dropped it, smashed to bits. So I kept all the ebony keys.
Oh yeah.
And I put it in my carving. So it's part of history.
Throughout history, the island and its peoples have been moulded by the weather and the tides of the Southern Ocean. As in the past, it will be these same forces that will ultimately determine the island's future. In the years ahead, the challenge will be to retain this vital sanctuary of peace and tranquility, while securing the viability of the island community.
Stewart Island's a really special place, and the department's really fortunate to be able to manage it for its natural values, we manage it for the recreation that people can have there, and hopefully we're managing it so that the tourist industry that's there can grow and develop in a sustainable way. And importantly, we need to manage that place so that the local community continues to flourish.
I think tourism is probably the future for the island as far as the island economy is concerned. But I think we've got to be really careful that we actually keep what is a jewel as a jewel for tourism rather than actually change the jewel to suit the tourism, which has happened in other places. It's a very difficult balance, but we've got to try it because the island's still a very beautiful place, and it will only be beautiful if we don't alter it.
It's one of the unknown treasures of New Zealand, I'd say.
I'm the fourth generation been coming here, and for people to enjoy the place, they've got to be prepared to adapt to its lifestyle and the time frames that you do things. You can sit back and enjoy it and don't stress yourself.
New Zealand the way it used to be, I wouldn't want to see it change.
It has been a fantastic visit to a fantastic island filled with fantastic people, and I thank you for sharing it with us.
Stewart Island was surprising to me. It's so beautiful, and it's tropical in a temperate climate. 2 days was certainly not enough, so we shall return.
Stewart Island is part of a primeval magical world, a refuge away from the pressures of modern society. It's a world that New Zealanders and visitors alike should discover for themselves.
Saxton's Country. Fly with helicopter pilot Dave Saxton, a legend in Southwestland. Meet some real Kiwi characters in Fishermen of the Fjords, the tale of a unique group of fishermen in search of the elusive rock lobster. And experience the adventure of backcountry cattle mustering in Westland Muster. These 3 great videos are available from Whitcoulls and Paper Plus stores throughout New Zealand. Get one for yourself or a friend today.
The mountains of New Zealand are wild, rugged, and often inhospitable places. In this beautiful but dangerous environment, an elite group of professional hunters fought a 50-year war to reduce exploding animal numbers from destroying the mountain lands. Known as deer cullers, they blazed trails across much of New Zealand's unexplored backcountry. To survive the isolation and the demanding environment, They had to be good, keen men.